All right, the Knicks are 2 wins away from the first NBA title in more than 50 years. But here's the problem. Every major trend heading into Game 4 says New York is in trouble. Some of the strongest historical trends on the board are flashing warning signs for New York tonight. The problem, after digging into the matchup, I'm not sure I agree with them. Tonight we'll break down what went wrong for the Knicks in Game 3, what must change before tip-off, and why our Pikkit play of the day may be taking a stand against the trends. Plus, we'll preview the RBC Canadian Open, recap a Stanley Cup final that has officially become a best-of-3. Let's get to work. Let's go. We're up against tips off the hook. Sports talk that pays off, powered by Pikkit. Keep tabs on your crew, your bets, and all the line movements all in one place with Pikkit. Tommy Trends hanging here with you tonight. We got a loaded show tonight, but we're going to start with the NBA Finals because we're up against that 8:30 tip. We'll break down the adjustments New York needs to make, whether Victor Wembanyama has officially become the latest New York villain, and why one player may hold the key to an entire series. And then we'll get you the Tommy Trend of the day, the Pikkit play of the day that might surprise a few of you. And then we'll head north of the border. We'll preview the RBC Canadian Open, the Stanley Cup final. And that's tied at 2 games apiece. And ready for a huge weekend of sports ahead. We'll talk sports. We'll have some fun. Try to find a few betting angles. And we'll see what happens. But let's tip it off. Game 4, Knicks Spurs, 8:30 tonight, ABC. And it looks like the delay here was StreamYard, and apparently, I don't know if they're down or if there's just a shit ton of network traffic, but it looks like we're only live on YouTube right now. X, I don't know what the hell is going on X, but maybe it was like a hostile takeover. No idea, but apparently we're only live on YouTube, but we'll roll with it. And for those of you on X, hopefully you clicked the YouTube link that I posted up there a few minutes ago, but whatever. We're live apparently on YouTube. So we're going to tip off, like I said, NBA Finals Game 4 tonight. And I'm just going to jump right into it. The money is telling you, and the money likes New York. The Knicks are taking 79% of the spread and 56% of the money line handle tonight for the NBA Finals Game 4. And that's a complete reversal from Game 3. When all the sharp money, all the bettors were back in San Antonio and got rewarded with that Spurs outright win. And now this is the first time that the road team has won 3 straight games to start the NBA Finals. Now, no road team has won 4 straight, right? So we had the road teams winning all 3 straight NBA Finals games so far. And if the Spurs get it done tonight and tie this thing up and turn it into a best-of-3 like the Stanley Cup, then it'll be a first where you have the road team winning the first 4 games of an NBA Finals. That's a lot of basketball to be played for that to never happen. So we'll see if that happens tonight. Not sure if that's going to happen, but it's a possibility. So we'll see if they can get it done. But we'll get into the breakdown and see how this thing is going to shake out, and I'll give you my takes on it. And like I said, we'll get you the Pikkit play of the day, which obviously is tied to Game 4 tonight, and then we'll get out of here so you can place some bets if you want to tail us with the trends, with the picks. If not, they'll be posted at OTH Sports Pod on our X page. I think I had one too many Red Bulls, and you can find it there. And then, like I said, we'll go into the golf and NHL, and then we'll get on out of here because my boys Mookie and Nash are getting ready to watch the game. We just got back from a walk, and they're getting ready to hunker down and watch this Knicks team hopefully get it done tonight. But the real question, when you look at Game 3, well, we'll get to the officiating. But actually, you know what? Before we even get into this, allegedly, and I don't know if anybody can confirm this. If you can, drop it in the chat. But there's been talk all afternoon about these watch parties with what happened after the Game 3 loss. Allegedly now, this came out a few minutes ago, that James Dolan has canceled the Game 4 watch party that was supposed to take place outside of MSG tonight. There was a lot of controversy this afternoon. He was on WFAN because a scumbag Mayor Mamdani, who's wrecking that fucking city, as if that's even possible. That city's just a dumpster fire. The best thing that could happen is the Knicks win the championship and they just completely burn the fucking city to the ground and start all over. But allegedly the mayor was trying to blame the Knicks and saying they only had a permit for up to 1,000 people and they needed a ticket. Now, look, the Knicks have been doing this for 2 fucking months and it was never a problem. And then today comes out and says there's a problem with a permit and all this other shit and putting blame on the Knicks. And James Dolan went on WFAN this afternoon and said, that's not the answer. We did everything by the book. And so now apparently the watch party is canceled. There was also debate of why they had the barricades up from Game 3 when President Trump was there and all the security issues. And that was a whole clusterfuck of a mess. But apparently the watch party is canceled. So if that is true, let us know. Drop it in the chat and let us know if that is the case. But anyway, we're going to go on to what happened, what went wrong in Game 3, how did they correct it in Game 4. And like I said, the big thing is who's running the Knicks offense, right? If you watch that game, my God, Jalen Brunson, he must have dribbled the fucking air out of the basketball. I don't know how there was any air left in that basketball by the end of the game. Dribble. I mean, listen, the offense, obviously, he's going to create the offense, but he can't just stand around and dribble. The turnovers, it was just unbelievable. It looked like the Knicks team, how they entered the playoffs against the Hawks. And then after that Hawks loss, Big Cat went to Mike Brown and said, listen, this offense moves through me. And he listened. And they changed it. And Rick Brunson had a talk with Jalen and said, listen, this thing's got to go through Big Cat. And they rattled off 13 straight. And then Game 3, they shit the bed. So, obviously, Jalen, it's going to run through him as far as who's running this offense. But, again, it has to go through Big Cat. And if you look at, Castle was all over Brunson. Just guarding him the whole length of that. Just like full court press, 94 feet of just defense. He was just picking him up full court and making life miserable for Brunson in Game 3. Now, I'd argue that Brunson needs to spend more time off the ball tonight and let someone else initiate that, which is fine. And I think they'll run a more efficient offense that way. And also, you got to get Big Cat involved. You got to feed the cat. Let him eat. This is going to be the biggest adjustment. Now, I said it the other day, up until this point, Karl Anthony Towns was looking like a finals MVP until Game 3. Not so much. Now, this is a crazy wild stat. Karl Anthony Towns has scored 50 points combined in the first 3 quarters of this NBA Finals, and he has 0 fourth quarter points. 0. The fuck does Karl Anthony Towns not scored at least 1 point in the fourth quarter? I had to read that 3 times when I saw it today. You can't have your best matchup or advantage just disappear. Now, from a defensive standpoint, he frustrated Wemby the first few games, and he was basically mugging him, and it was all over him. And then you get to Game 3, not so much. The Knicks just looked out of sync. You kind of thought at the end of the second quarter, the Spurs kind of looked tired. They looked out of sorts a little bit. They couldn't close the second quarter. Knicks were up at halftime, but then they come out in the third quarter, and it's a whole different ball game, and the Knicks just couldn't sustain that lead. They couldn't get it done, and we said it on Monday night. They can't get swept up in the emotion of the crowd or the hype. Now, the Knicks was interesting, too. Before that game on Monday night, it was almost 2 weeks before since they played a home game, which is Unbelievable when you think about it. So there was all the hype, all the hoopla of going back to New York and having an NBA Finals game there. And they just kind of got swept up in that moment, couldn't get it done. And the Spurs come out the winner. But that Karl Anthony Towns stat is just unreal. He's cooking for 3 quarters, and then you can't get your 7-foot big man the ball. You can't get him 1 point in the fourth quarter. That's got to change tonight, or this is going to come down to the best of 3, like the NHL Stanley Cup. And then this whole thing could unravel. Do I think it's going to happen? No, because we have a team that just rattled off 13 straight wins, hadn't lost since April 23rd, and yet they still were in the game the other night. And they've played 3 games. Now, these 3 games could have went either way. The Knicks could be up 3-0. The Spurs could also be up 3-0. But regardless, the Knicks have not played the way they played throughout the entire playoffs, right? They look like game 1 was probably the best game that they played. They squeaked out a win in game 2, and then it fell apart Monday night in game 3. Now, a couple other things, too, from an offensive standpoint. Shamet, games 1 and 2, 13 points off the bench. In game 3, 0. Now, if you're interested in, I'm not a prop bettor. I find an edge here and there, and I'll play a prop. But tonight, one thing to note is the over 6.5 points for Shamet tonight is minus 120 in FanDuel. It might have shifted a little bit. The number's different from different books. This was a couple hours ago. But that is interesting. He had 0 points off the bench in game 3. And Jordan Clarkson had a coming out party, so to speak. He kept the Knicks in it. But I think Shamet cooks tonight. I do like that over 6.5. If you're a prop bettor, I do like that for him tonight to get it done. And his story is fascinating nonetheless. And this is a little screenshot that I found of Landry Shamet. Now, training camp, he gets a training camp contract for 16 days before media day. Career low minutes last season. He enters the free agent market. Nobody took a flyer on him. Spent the entire summer working as an unpaid photographer in New York while hoping the Knicks would bring him back. They gave him a training camp deal at the very last moment. And he's shooting lights out in the playoffs. Not so much the other night. But up until then, he goes from being an unpaid photographer in New York, getting a training camp contract right in the nick of time. And now he's been one of the biggest reasons that the Knicks are where they're at thus far. So I think Shamet gets his tonight. And I do like that prop bet if you're a prop bettor, over 6.5 points for Shamet tonight. I do like that a lot. But let's look at the other side with the Spurs. Wemby, he finally. Now, this Spurs team's fucking dirty. And I have no problem with physical play. I grew up watching that Pistons bad boys team. Basketball in the 80s, 90s was physical. You had guys flopping then, and you hear Barkley say it all the time. But the game was more physical then. The refs also let them play. It was just a different era. But the Spurs team, they're dirty and they're physical. And the Knicks need to answer back. Now, I'm not saying the answer, which I'd be okay with this as a former Temple student. I'd be okay if they bring in the goon, like John Chaney called for against St. Joe's when he had a player foul out in 4 minutes. It just was in there. the goon, just picking up fouls. They do this in hockey, right? Send a guy in there just to be a fucking menace and frustrate people. I'm okay with that. Go ahead. Be physical. At least show something. Show some type of physical aggression and eat up fouls and frustrate them, right? Who cares if you foul out? They need to do something to put a body on Wemby. And let's not get Karl Anthony Towns in foul trouble. Bring in the goon, but not necessarily hurt him like John Chaney did with the St. Joe's game. If anybody remembers, I'm showing my age here with that. But I'm okay with that growing up watching physical basketball. You got to put a body on this guy. I mean, 32 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists, three blocks. I think he had 2 steals too. He did look like the best player on the floor in Game 3. The scary part isn't the numbers that he put up. It's how he's adjusting. And the Knicks are letting him adjust. And as I said, the Knicks need to get physical and put a body on Wemby. It looked like he processed everything a lot faster in Game 3 than the previous 2 games. And maybe he's figuring it out. And Game 3, the Spurs made the best adjustments, I thought. Even though at the end of the second quarter, they couldn't close out. Knicks go in the half with a lead. They found a way to close and get it done down the stretch. Now, I think, again, a lot of that was the Knicks just getting caught up in the hoopla and all that chaos at Madison Square Garden and all the hype leading up to it. Like I said, they haven't played a home game prior to that in like 2 weeks. So now we'll talk about the officiating. And this is where this Spurs team is dirty. And like I said, I'm okay with physical play. And I know this has probably been beaten to death on every other sports station, but it needs to be said because Brunson got called for a ticky-tack flagrant foul. And then you have Wemby, who gets no call on this. And the league even reviewed it and said, no call. No flagrant. They said it should have, I believe the ruling was it should have been a foul, but not a flagrant. I don't know. I don't know. I can't understand, and I'm going to show this clip. And I'm sure you've all seen this clip. But this clip is absolutely ridiculous. This is egregious. It just doesn't get called. I mean, how? Look at that. Listen, like I said, let them play and let them get physical. But that is absolutely uncalled for. That is uncalled for there. You got to call that. Now, the interesting part is Wemby's already got 2 flagrant fouls in the playoffs. If you get 4, you're sitting a game. So if the league would have decided that is a flagrant foul, first of all, it shouldn't have taken them a fucking day to rule that. I mean, that's obvious. I mean, everybody. You don't have to be you don't need to know shit about basketball, and you see that, and you're like, you can do that? I mean, you can't even do that shit in hockey. They don't let them fight in hockey anymore. So that is a problem. I mean, let them play and let them be physical, but that is absolutely uncalled for. And Mike Brown had every right to bitch at the end of the game for that, because you can't. Now, that officiating crew, in my opinion, for Game 3, the whole pace, the pace sucked. The stoppage of play, the looking at challenges and reviews, it was ridiculous. Now tonight, you get a different crew. Tonight, from an officiating standpoint, the crew chief tonight, Zach Zarba. Now, historically, if you look at the past Knicks games where he was the crew chief, hasn't been in the Knicks' favor. However, this season, with Zarba as a crew chief, Knicks are 5-0. He's a Brooklyn kid. I do think this crew will let them play. At least I hope so. I hope we get a little bit more freedom there. And again, you got to be fair on both ends, right? If you're going to, if you're going to blow the whistle and everything, fine. If you're going to swallow the whistle, fine, but it can't be lopsided. I mean, the fact that the Spurs were in the bonus with like 8 or 9 minutes left in the fourth quarter was just fucking ridiculous. I don't know. I mean, it's just there's a huge there's a huge difference there between the foul calls. And listen, that's the Knicks could have still won the game, but not calling that flagrant. I mean, how do you not have eyes on Brunson? You can't miss that. I mean, you're not. I don't know. But again, I think this crew and this ref assignment tonight that we have here, I think you're going to get a little bit better from that standpoint. And like I said, I'm not asking for that late 80s or early 90s style basketball with Mahorn and Lambeer and those guys going at it and Barkley and all that, which I like. But you got to let them. I mean, this is the finals. It's going to be physical. You got to let them. You got to let them play. But something like that, you can't miss those obvious ones. It was just brutal officiating. Like I said, the pace between the reviews, the whistles, challenges, the stoppage of play, the pace just died. The flow, everything was. It was just a bad. Wasn't the best officiated game, even though you could probably argue that game 2 was probably worse. And then, listen, Brunson, he drew 29 charges throughout the regular season, and that led to the league from that standpoint. So I'm not, Brunson does get the calls. I get it. I mean, but again, let's hope tonight's a lot better from that standpoint. We'll see. We'll see what happens tonight. But I think that the Knicks has got to be physical. You got to get Big Cat involved all 4 quarters. I mean, the fact that the guy has not scored a single point in the fourth quarter in the NBA Finals is just absolutely ridiculous. And then, like I said, I think Shamet, I mean, like I said, 13 points off the bench in games 1 and 2, nothing in game 3. I think he hits that over 6.5 total points tonight. OG Anunoby, I mean, he had a hell of a game. And it's a shame for how well he played that the Knicks came up on the losing side of that game. And even Josh Hart had a really good game and responded after a not so good game too. So, but I think you get a better effort from the Knicks. I think the Spurs are starting to find a groove, and you can't let them jump out like they did last game. It's your house. You could take control here and go up 3-1, and you got to stick it to them. You can't fall behind again like they did in game 3. You can't. And you can see on the screen there, and kudos to Pat McAfee and the crew for that image. We borrowed that. Why reinvent the wheel when they did it better? I'm the fucking producer here doing everything. So tried to lighten my load, borrowed the image from Pat and the crew. So thank you for the graphic. But you can see the number there. The prediction markets right now, looking at the latest odds, are probably gonna get you the best numbers right now. But that number is right within what the most books, 216.5, 217, maybe 217.5, depending on when you place the bet. Right, but that's what you're looking at from that standpoint. Now it's tough from a betting perspective. What's more interesting looking at this is the total, because 11 of the last 12 NBA Finals game 4s have gone under. The average points through the first 3 games of the recent finals, 211.5. The average in game 4 is just a tick over 205. And there's your number 216.5, 217.5. And then you have 82% of the handle on the over. So to me, that screams a contrarian spot from a betting perspective. If the Knicks win tonight, they're one win away from their first title since 1973. The Spurs win tonight. It's now a best of three. And they're headed back home, and they're feeling pretty good if they get it done tonight. To me, this feels like Game 4. This is the biggest game of the series so far. And, Yankees fans may argue and disagree with this, but to me, this feels like the biggest game in New York in quite some time. Now, you could argue the World Series a couple years ago against the Dodgers, but the Yankees have won so many times since the Knicks last won a championship. Knicks fans are starving for a championship. And listen, I don't have a dog in the fight. I'm a Pistons fan. I just love good basketball as long as it's officiated properly and we get a good series and it's not lopsided and the refs aren't controlling the game and dictating the outcome. I do like the Knicks to win this series. I said Knicks in 6 when it started. So that's still a possibility. But they got to adjust. And if Jalen Brunson is dribbling the way he did and dribble, I mean, the air's going to be out of the fucking ball by the end of the first quarter tonight. Yeah, they got to get the ball out of his hands, especially if he's getting pressed, a full court press from Castle like last game. That's not going to work this game because the Spurs are starting to make adjustments and figure it out. And the Knicks need to do the same. And, but the Spurs, if they get it done tonight, this is going to be an interesting series, especially with them heading back to San Antonio. Now, if the Spurs win, and we just talk about that stat where the road team would win the first 4 games in an NBA Finals. Could the Knicks, the Knicks can win in San Antonio. It's not unheard of. But if that's, that's the case, then it's Knicks in 7. If that's how this is going to play out. But I don't see that happening. Obviously, I think the Knicks win tonight. The Knicks get it done in 5. I think it's done at that point. But maybe not. But we'll see. Whether they're going to have the best of 3 or the Knicks are going to, take a pretty commanding lead in this series after tonight. And we'll get you the Tommy trend of the day. Now, listen, I said it when we started. I'm warning you now. If you're a Knicks fan, these trends are not exactly screaming Knicks tonight because this does get interesting with some of these trends that I found. So a couple of these trends that I pulled out are telling you to fade New York tonight. And the first one, small home favorites. So we said the Knicks are laying 2 in the hook. So small home favorites have been vulnerable in NBA Finals, and that was the case the other night. That was our Pikkit play of the day the other night. Knicks laying 2.5, and fortunately we didn't cash that. Now we're still cashing 63% of our Pikkit plays of the day, and we'll have that in just a moment when we go through this. But the small home favorites have been vulnerable in the finals. Teams laying 4 points or less at home are just 6-13 straight up and against the spread in the last 19 spots. So that's telling you, take the Spurs. It's only a little over 31% cover rate. And we said, Knicks are laying 2.5 tonight. So that trend, fade the Knicks. The second one I found, Game 4 home teams, they've struggled bad, real bad in NBA Finals. Since 2013, Game 4 home teams are just 3-9 straight up and against the spread. It's a 25% cover rate. If you remember last year, for the 5 people who watched the Pacers in Oklahoma City, Indiana was catching 6 at home in Game 4, and they lost 111-104. Tonight, Knicks at home, Game 4, and 2.5. That trend also says fade the Knicks. And then the trend that probably speaks the loudest on the board out of the 3 that I pulled here, defense and fatigue have ruled game fours. Now, game 3 did hit the over, but we said typically NBA Finals games, 70% cover rate and lean toward the under. So defense fatigue typically come into play in game fours. The first 3 games of the last 10 NBA Finals series have averaged 211.5 combined points. But game fours have dropped to just a tick over 205, 205.3. And 11 of the last 12 NBA Finals game fours have gone under the total. So tonight's total is sitting around 216.5. So that trend is telling you to be back on the under. Because I know people, a lot of people are saying take the over last game, cashed. But these game 4 trends will tell you take the under. Sitting, like I said, 216.5, 217, 217.5, depending on where you got it and what book you're using. That makes sense to me from that standpoint. Game 3 got sloppy. You had whistles all over the place. Spurs in the bonus, going to the foul line, racking up points. I mean, the whole pace of play in game 3 was just a mess. Got chopped up by fouls, challenges, reviews, stoppages. It's brutal to watch with that officiating crew. Tonight's crew, like I said, I think you let them play a little bit more. I think the teams will clean up the turnovers, but I feel like this is going to be more of a half-court grind, and I just think to me, that trend of leaning toward the under and getting back and covering on the under, I do like that tonight. And then, the Spurs are obviously going to be more physical because they're starting to adjust and starting to figure it out, and they're going to want to attack the paint and be more physical. It worked. And like we said, the fatigue tends to set in here on game 4s, and this is where it starts showing up. So the Tommy trends of the day: fade the small home favorites, fade game 4 home teams, and look to take the under. So that's the trend board. And here's the funny part. I don't know if I completely agree with that, right? So after all that, you might say, all right, well, sounds like take the Spurs plus the points and call it a day. Not so fast, in the words of Lee Corso. The trends, in my opinion, this is my opinion. So opinions are like assholes. Everybody's got one. But, to me, the trends only gave part of the answer tonight and didn't give the whole answer. And that kind of lines up with our Pikkit play of the day, which will be posted on our X page at OTH Sports Pod. Track your bets, track your crew, track all the line movements, share your plays, all on Pikkit. And listen, if you're not using Pikkit, you're betting blind. It's great to track everything right there at your fingertips. And if you're not using Pikkit, go download it. They got a pro version and a free version. Put in code OTH. You can follow us on there. And like we said, we started this thing, we're transparent. And you'll see all our plays there as well as on our X page at OTH Sports Pod. So I gave you the trends. So now, the Pikkit play of the day. Here we go. This is a monster 3-leg parlay. We should probably call it the Pikkit parlay play of the day. And this is why I said the trends only gave part of the answer. So let me explain how I came up with this. We already talked about Shamet, over 6.5 total points tonight. 0 off the bench in game 3, 13 in games 1 and 2. I think he gets his number tonight. Under 217.5. We just gave you the game 4 trends and how they lean toward the under historically in NBA Finals games. I think we get that tonight. However, this Knicks team just won 13 games in a row. They had a bump in the road. I think the Knicks respond tonight. I think the ball is going to be out of Brunson's hands, and you're going to start creating more on offense. And he's not going to be dribbling around and then turning the ball over. And they just look lost. And I think they adjust. They're a veteran team. They know how to adjust. Bridges, I think when he got the 2 quick fouls, I think that completely took him out of the game. So he was completely lost in game 3, as I feel. I think he comes back and responds tonight as well. I think you get a better effort from Bridges tonight. Again, you got to remember, he was on that Suns team that lost 4 in a row after being up 2-0 against Milwaukee. So that's in the back of his mind. But again, I think there's there's still pressure on the Knicks because it's New York. They're playing at home, haven't won a championship in almost 60 years, right? So they still have the pressure, but there's more pressure, in my opinion, in game 3 than there is tonight. They got all that out, and now they can just go and they can ball tonight, right? I feel you get a better effort from them. And listen, Brunson. I mean, he's the engine. He's the captain of the ship. He's the closer, and he's the guy who got him there. Let's be honest. I mean, the Knicks, prior to getting Brunson in that 21-year stretch, they won 8 playoff games without him, and they're 35-23 with Brunson. I mean, he's got to put up his numbers, but he can't have the ball in his hands as much as he did in game 3. I mean, you got to adjust with the way Castle was pressuring him and working him all game. So I think that adjustment is obvious. At least I hope so. I think you got to get him off the ball more, let someone else initiate that offense, and let him get cleaner touches. And like I said, feed the cat. Let the offense run through Karl Anthony Towns. Let him eat. He's had 50 points in quarters 1, 2, and 3 in the NBA Finals combined. 0 in the fourth quarter. 0. You got to get the man the ball in the fourth quarter and let him score. I don't care if he's at the fucking foul line getting his points that way. You got to get him points. That cannot happen again. If he puts up a fucking donut in the fourth quarter tonight, the Knicks are done. They're cooked. You can't. I think they correct it. And that's why we're doing the Pikkit parlay of the day. And the Knicks laying 2 in the hook. It's not like we're asking for a blowout here. 3 points. I think the Knicks win by 8-10 tonight. I think you see a different Knicks team. I don't think you see a slow start like you did in game 3. And we said, I mean, the stat that keeps on giving, NBA Final, the winners cover over the last 12 seasons now. Outright winners in NBA Finals games are 65-3-3 against the spread in the finals. That's almost a 96% cover rate. Just keep drilling that stat. So, again, I know there's people, on the Spurs, but that short number with the Knicks, I think an 8 to 10 point win for the Knicks tonight. I think they get out to a pretty good start, and I think you get points off the bench from Shamet. That's 6.5. I like that number. I think he gets that. I mean, that's a couple threes and either goes to the foul line, gets a couple points there. For him to get 2 threes, it's almost a given, except for last game. But so we're going with the Pikkit parlay of the day. Shaman over 6.5 points. The Knicks laying 2.5 and under 217.5. Listen, we said 211.5 has been the average combined total in game 4s. So, I mean, if that number is 215, I'd still even lean under. Again, the fatigue sets in. I think you're going to get more physical play. You get better defense. And I think this officiating crew kind of swallows the whistle a little bit tonight and lets them play. And you won't get some of those cheap calls on both ends. So that is our Pikkit parlay of the day. Knicks laying 2.5. Shamit over 6.5 points and under 217.5. It was plus 404, and then we had a little boost bonus there. So that put it up to plus 505. And that is the official off the hook Pikkit parlay of the day. That'll be on our X page at OTH Sports Pod. I just love how these three things right here stand out and kind of tell the story of the game. Even though we're kind of bucking the trends a little bit of the game 4 trends that we just mentioned, but I think the Knicks get help from their bench tonight, especially Shamit. Like I said, we acknowledge the trends. We don't blindly marry the trends. The Tommy trend of the day says be careful, or Tommy trends, because we had 3 of them, says be careful if you're a Knicks fan or if you're a Knicks backer. But the basketball read and the eye test says New York adjust. And we're rolling with this and feel pretty good about it. So let's get this. Let's get another one. We had 2 rough days. We missed on the Pikkit play of the day on Monday. We took Vegas last night, the money line, and that one almost cashed, but almost doesn't quite get you there. So I think we get it done tonight. Shamit over 6.5, Knicks laying 2.5, and under 217.5 for the Pikkit play of the day. And let's see if the Knicks can put themselves 1 win away from their first NBA title since 1973, or Spurs come out. Do they respond? And we make this a best of 3, and we match up just how the NHL Stanley Cup is. So we'll see what happens. Tip is about 40 minutes away. Oh, and Wu-Tang Clan is your halftime entertainment tonight, in case you're interested. But the ABC, ESPN, whatever, they're not going to fucking show it. So, but that is the halftime entertainment for tonight. But in case you're interested, we're not going to see it. It'll probably be on YouTube somewhere afterwards. But shifting gears now, that's enough NBA talk. We'll break that down either tomorrow or Friday when we're back on here. But let's tee it up, and we'll go tee to green here for the RBC Canadian Open. Starts tomorrow. North of the border at TPC Toronto, Osprey Valley North Course. They're in Ontario, and this is now listen. You're not getting Rory, which he's barely played this year, and no Scheffler. But this is a sneaky big spot on the PGA Tour schedule this week. So we just came off the Memorial. Now we're heading north of the border for the Canadian Open. And of course, next week, the 126th U.S. Open at Shinnecock Hills. And then after that, the last signature event of the season with the Travelers. So this isn't just some like random throwaway week in golf betting. For some guys, this is going to be a final tune-up before a major. So it's going to be pretty competitive. And then, of course, others are looking to grab some FedEx Cup points, move inside the top 50, push towards the President's Cup roster, and, qualify for the Travelers. So there's a lot on the line here up there in Canada. But for us bettors, it's really interesting because we do have a strong field. No Scheffler, no Rory. Rory wasn't going to fucking win anyway. Who cares? And this course hosted this event last year, and so this will be the second year hosting it. And I didn't know the Canadian Open's been around since 1904, so this would be the 113th edition of this tournament. Third oldest PGA Tour event since the right behind the Open Championship and the U.S. Open. So total purse almost 10 mil. Winner will get just shy of $2 million, and the bigger thing, they get 500 FedEx Cup points. So we said this tournament has some serious history behind it. These are considered like the Triple Crown in golf. I just got off the horse racing Triple Crown. So the Canadian Open, U.S. Open, and the Open Championship are considered the Triple Crown of National Opens. And interesting to note, only Lee Trevino in 71, Tiger in 2000, won all three in the same year. And only 6 players have won all three. Trevino Woods, Tommy Armour, Walter Hagen, Arnold Palmer, and Rory. So it's the week before the U.S. Open. This event does matter. And we'll get into the course breakdowns, how this plays. We'll get you some guys that we're leaning towards, and then we'll have the plays or picks posted tomorrow before tee times start. So either late tonight or early morning, we'll have those posted with our card for that. And like I said, you can always follow us on Pikkit too. It'll be posted there. Download that Pikkit app and follow us there. But last year, Ryan Fox won here, is 18 under in that playoff over Sam Burns. Fox shot a 66 or better in all 4 rounds. He went 64-66 in the weekend. And that the 4-hole playoff at Burns to win it. Now, Burns fired off a final round 62. He made 5 birdies in a row to start his final 9. He birdied 18 in regulation, but still came up short in that 4-hole playoff. So Fox is back defending. Burns is back. Fleetwood's there after losing in a playoff to Nick Taylor in 2023. And that's, if you remember, that's Nick Taylor was the so-called Canadian hero that year and ended the drought in 2023. And he was the first Canadian to win this tournament since Pat Fletcher in 1954. So a lot of Canadians in the field again. Maybe we get another Canadian winner. Doubt it. But we got 147 players from 23 countries, 21 Canadians in the field. Corey Connors, Taylor Pendrith, Mackenzie Hughes, Adam Hadwin. When Nick Taylor won, Adam Hadwin got tackled by the security guard running onto the fucking green. So Hadwin's playing, of course, Nick Taylor. And I'm going to botch this fucking name, but Evan got it right a few weeks ago. But Sudarshan Yelamaraju, Mike Weir, who is making his 33rd RBC Canadian Open start. And that's just 2 off the all-time mark for him. So maybe Mike Weir will get that all-time mark. We'll see, but he's getting close. And the field has 4 players inside the top 10. Matt Fitzpatrick, Justin Rose, Tommy Fleetwood, and Colin Morikawa. And Aaron Rai, the PGA Championship winner from Aronimink this year, man, talk about getting disrespected. He's really getting disrespected from a lot of people, and who people pick as a favorite to win. Even though he did have a top 10 finish at Memorial, a lot of people are saying fade Aaron Rai this week. Koepka is playing in Canada for the first time since 2019, and Hovland was a late addition to this field. And Bobby McIntyre, the 2024 champ, he's back. Wyndham Clark, who's come on strong of late, he was kind of pretty much nowhere to be found, and seems like he's putting a complete game together the past few weeks. He won the CJ Cup Byron Nelson and was 3rd at the Memorial. And then Tony Finau also, he's actually been a little bit more relevant of late. Max Homa starting to come around. Shane Lowry, Sam Burns, of course, is always a threat here. Alex Fitzpatrick. I actually like Alex Fitzpatrick more than Matt. But then you got Nikolai Højgaard, Rayton, all pretty strong guys rounding out the field there. But let's look at this course. So TPC Toronto, Osprey Valley, the North Course is a par 70, just under 7,400 yards. So Doug Carrick originally designed it in 2001, so the course is not that old. And then Ian Andrew renovated it in 2023 and 2024. And then last year was the first year that they got to host a championship event. So not sure if they're going to do this next year. I don't know how long they signed for this course, but so this will be the second year they're hosting this course. It's the second longest par 4 on the PGA Tour this season, and it's bookend par 5s. Hole 1 and hole 18 are both par 5s. Now, again, we always say live betting golf. It's fun, and you can really get some good numbers on some of these guys. So if you're live betting, it's really important with these bookend par 5s because you're going to have guys who start on the back in round 1 and even round 2. So they can play 18 and 1 back to back. which typically that's where you're going to get your scoring on the par fives. So with these bookend par fives, you might be playing 18 and 1 back to back, which creates some scoring opportunities right off the bat for some of these guys. And then the stretch from 9 to 11 is typically the toughest stretch of holes in this course. The 225-yard par 3 11th had 25 double bogeys last year. It's absurd. The back nine last year played about a half a stroke harder than the front. And the finishing stretch, this stretch here, it always makes, this is kind of like the waste management of the North when you get to the rink at 14. It's pretty wild. And then you get like that medium par 4 at 15, and then two brutal par 4s at 16 and 17, and then 18. We said that par 5. It's more of a risk reward par 5 in the 18th because you got water in front of the green and that false front, so it does make it interesting. But typically, these par 5s present scoring opportunities for these guys. And if you miss that second shot a little short with that false front, and we've seen it happen, you got to be careful when you're judging that false front. And if you hit it short, it's going to roll right back into the drink. So, which, that's kind of what you want for a finishing hole, right? It's 2 shot swings, lots of live betting chaos, and a lot of sweating out bets on that hole because it's happened. We saw it last year. The greens are bent grass POA, about 6,500 square feet, 48 bunkers, 7 holes with water, and 30 acres of fairway grass. So the fairways are typically pretty generous at this course, 39 yards wide. The rough is closer to 4 inches, that Kentucky bluegrass. So players can be aggressive here and still they'll still get penalized if they're missing in the wrong spots. But last year's scoring average was 65.5. Winning score, like we said, it was Fox at 18 under. Now Vegas has a winning score over-under set at 18.5 or 261.5 for all 4 rounds. The cut was 3 under last year. So again, another challenging course, not as challenging as Aronimink or Colonial or the Memorial last week, but again, it's you're not going to get these crazy scores like you saw the CJ Cup, Byron Nelson. It's going to be a little bit more difficult too. And then we'll get into some notes about how this course is going to play. But the course did allow for some scoring, like I said, but it's not anything crazy. But also, while there was scoring, a lot of guys, there was a lot of damage done. 103 double bogeys were made last year. That's wild. So it's not going to be a birdie fest or a lot of birdie free rounds here at this course. You can get 62s, low 60s here, but we'll get to the weather, and some of the weather could play into it. It could wreck a card quickly, depending on the weather and how some of these holes are playing. Weather, like I said, is important. Now, the course earlier this week did get some rain, and more rain is expected. So you're going to get a little bit softer course. The rain chances seem to be Thursday and Friday. Saturday looks okay, but then Sunday, possibly more rain in the forecast there. So softer surfaces won't be firm and fast, what you saw last week at the Memorial. And what we thought we would have saw at Aronimink, but it didn't get the rain there. So you're going to see a little bit softer surfaces, which when you get these soft surfaces and the rain, you're going to see more guys attacking. And but then you got the wind. So that will be the equalizer here at the RBC Canadian Open. Cooler than what we saw last week in Dublin, Ohio. Like 50-ish mornings and then 70s afternoon. Then you get the southwest winds. Like I said, that could play a factor into this tournament all weekend long. So because the winds are predicted to be almost 20 miles an hour with gusts in the mid to high 20s. And Sunday with the forecasted rain and the wind's supposed to pick up by Sunday. So it could make for an interesting finish on Sunday. The leaderboard could be stacked and not a lot of separation. So you could see, maybe get another playoff on Sunday again, which would be great. So you'll see a lot of, expect to see probably a lot of carnage on Sunday if the winds pick up and we get that rain. 17 of the 18 holes at this course do sit along the northwest to southwest type layout or orientation, wherever you want to call it. And then if you get that west and southwest wind here, you get a lot of crosswind on these holes. And like I said, if the Sunday is supposed to be the windiest day, almost 30 mile an hour gusts forecasted. So it could get pretty crazy on Sunday. So Saturday, if you look at weather-wise, is probably going to be the best scoring day. But with the rain forecasted Thursday and Friday, again, softer conditions, but from a scoring standpoint, well, I mean, I don't know. The guys are going to attack it because it's softer surfaces and whatnot. But Sunday could be brutal. But could make for an interesting finish if guys are bunched up. So, and then the wind. We keep talking about the wind. The final holes, the breeze on these final holes should help. So, like for example, 16, 17, 18 were huge last year. Especially like I said, we had the 4-hole playoff with Burns. So the way the wind pattern sets up at this course, they should have on 16, 17, and 18, that breeze should help behind them on these holes. So we'll see, but weather is definitely going to be a factor this week. I mean, last week we had the stoppage of play and some crazy storms roll through, but then it kind of cleared out. This seems to be like 3 of the 4 days you're going to have weather involved, but with Sunday being the worst. But again, this is why golf is fun live betting, because weather and our guys going off the front, they going off the back, and first and second round, early, late, right? So, live betting, you still get a lot of good numbers. Maybe you don't even, do anything Thursday or Friday. You wait till Saturday, till moving day to see how guys play, how the course plays. Which, again, with the forecasted weather, might not be a bad idea. So how do you win here, and who do you want to look at? So, it's a long par 70 course, but there's several huge par 4s. So, obviously, first you're going to say, well, all right, distance, right? But last year, when you looked at how it played, it kind of told you something different. It wasn't really distance. The accuracy here is what mattered more than just grip and rip and bombing off the tee. So it plays a little like Muirfield Village did last week, the Memorial. So you want distance, but you don't just want you want the total tee to green accuracy. So it's not just distance, but how accurate are you? And you can't just spray it around the course and then expect on an approach shot that you're going to be able to correct it or contend, right? So the average driving distance last year was 299.6, so just under 300 yards. So you will see guys hit a lot of drivers here, but again, it's not just the distance, it's the accuracy off the tee as well. 45% of the approach shots came from 150 yards or closer, and about half of the approaches are with a 9-iron or less. So what does that tell you? It tells you that precision and putting on this course are more than a pure power course, right? That's we saw it last year. Your biggest range of what you want to look at is the 125 to 150 ish yards out from an approach. So also the 100 to maybe 150, from a proximity standpoint, 125, 150. that's where you're going to gain these approach shots and, under 150 yards. That's where the overall strokes are going to be gained on your approach here for this tournament. And at the same time, some of these par fours are long. So the average par four length here is 459. And if you, from a course comparison, that's the same average par four length as Quill Hollow, even a little bit longer than Augusta's average par four holes. So you do have 5 par fours at or over 500 yards, depending on how they set up. Several long irons are going to be coming into play. Like I said, it's going to be just like the iron play is going to be huge here again, especially when you have the 2 par threes over 225 yards. The iron play is going to matter here quite a bit this weekend. So again, we said it now, like with three, this is before the last 5 weeks, where the full bag, a full skill set matters and how you methodically approach a course and maneuver it throughout the weekend, especially when you get the weather coming into play. If we get these winds, driver off the tee may not be your best bet. So you are going to need to drive it well to avoid trouble. But when you start factoring in weather, it could be your approach could be a lot different here. Wedge play, iron play, and again, lots of bogeys and double bogeys last year. So you need to make those short putts. We said 6,500 square feet of greens here. And you'll need, inside 5 feet, and maybe roll a few from 20 plus. And it's going to be one of those weeks where you'll need some help there with those. So dial in your putter. If you're not putting well, forget it. Just might as well pack your bags. 9 of the top 12 finishers last year were inside the top 25 in strokes gained putting for the week. So that's going to be big as far as, who you're looking at, names to look at. And we'll give you some of those. And like I said, the full card will be posted before tee times tomorrow morning on our X page at OTH Sports Pod. So, it's not Aronimink. It's not Augusta. Greens are makeable, but your ball striking here and your iron play and you get a hot flat stick, you could do some damage here. But again, we keep going back to the weather. It's not going to be ideal conditions for most of the weekend. So some key stats: your strokes gained tee to green, your strokes gained on approach play, your proximity to greens from like 100 to 150. And also your proximity from 150 plus on some of these longer holes. How you're scoring on par fives. And we said it's your total, not just your driving distance, but the accuracy. So the complete package is not just going to be bomb it and spray it all over and hope to recover. And can you squeak out a couple birdies here and there to help? And obviously, of course, bogey avoidance. But this course last year, there's quite a few. So scrambling, just be careful around the green here with that. Sand saves. The bent POA putting is going to get a couple guys. Like I said, if your putting's off, just pack your bags. So, all right. So we kind of gave you the layout, how the course plays, what to look for with weather involved and everything. So, some of the guys who, made our list, and then we'll narrow that list down. Tommy Fleetwood is around 12 to 1. Sam Burns, obviously, he played well last year. And Sam Burns has been playing well, throughout most of this season. So now Matt Fitzpatrick is on my list, but I do like his brother a little bit better. But as far as odds for Fitzpatrick, he's around 14 to 1. He does have 3 wins on tour this season already. So, and how can you argue Wyndham Clark? He's come on of late. He's sitting around 25 to 1. Like I said, won the CJ Cup. Byron Nelson finished third at the Memorial. A name I don't like, but thought I'd mention. Every time I take Colin Morikawa, he shits the bed. When I don't take him, he does well. But Morikawa is sitting at 25 to 1. He had the back issues. And I guess his wife is expecting any day. So is he going to withdraw? I don't know, maybe take a flyer to Morikawa to not finish if a book offers that. I'd probably be more inclined to take that. Interesting, we mentioned Hovland was a late addition here this week. So I always like Victor Hovland. Went through swing coaches, and I think he's back with his old coach. I don't know. He keeps firing guys, but um, he's been up and down. But he's sitting at 35-1. He had a back injury at the Memorial. Let's see who else on the list here. Bobby McIntyre. He's around a 30-1. He did win in 2024. And then Justin Rose playing with those McLaren irons, I guess, still ripping those things. Played well. And then Koepka. Those guys are in the 30-1 range. So we said Koepka's first time playing the Canadian Open since 2019. But look, I mean, just in my opinion, I feel like you get a good effort from Rose and Koepka this week, especially heading into Shinnecock Hills next week. Couple of names that might make the card. Like I said, I do like Alex Fitzpatrick more than his brother. He's been playing well late. Aaron Rai, a lot of people are fading Aaron Rai. I don't know. I think this course fits him well. Alex Noren's another one. Interesting. And Nikolai Højgaard and Shane Lowry. Just basically the course profile and the key things to look for. And some of these guys kind of fit that profile. But just Aaron Rai, I don't know. A lot of people are saying fade him. I don't see that. So he definitely might make the card. You just have to scroll really far down to find him. I mean, the guy. I mean, his approach at Aronimink was solid, and how he closed out. And then after Aronimink, recent finishes. Won the PGA Championship, and then 5th and 19th, and these similar courses, he ranks well. He's not a flashy player by any means, but I think he's live in this field, and maybe even you get some good live betting numbers. And then if you look at categorically here, so the tee to green leaders this season would be Matt Fitzpatrick, Morikawa, Koepka, Fleetwood, Nikolai Højgaard, Doug Gim, Kashmir Keith Mitchell, Wyndham Clark, Max McGreevy, Jordan Smith, Davis Thompson, Aaron Rai, Tom Kim, Nick Taylor. And then your approach leaders, Morikawa, Koepka, Matt Fitzpatrick, Wyndham Clark, Sam Ryder, Austin Smotherman, Aaron Rai, Austin Eckroat, Tom Kim. And if you look at it, we said the proximity of that 100 to 150 yard range. This is where Alex Fitzpatrick, the other Fitzpatrick brother, is really good in that range. Tom Hoagie, Charlie Hoffman. Now, fuck's the last time Charlie Hoffman played a tournament. Tom Kim, Corey Connors, Sam Ryder. Driving distance. Obviously, guys like Pot Geeter, Sam Burns, Thor Bjornsson, Kashmir Keith Mitchell, Ryan Fox, Koepka, Taylor Pendrith. Those are some of the distance leaders off the tee with the driver. And then if you look at performance-wise, par fours this season on tour, Sam Burns, Steve Fisk, Sam Ryder, Matt Fitzpatrick, Eric Cole. He's due. He has played great golf of late and just not able to close. Justin Rose. Now, if you're looking at birdie or better percentage, and you're looking at Wyndham Clark, Morikawa, Jacob Bridgman, Burns, Bobby Mack, Koepka, Justin Rose, Matt Fitzpatrick, Austin Eckroat. Those are some guys to think about as you're putting your card together. And then putting. Sam Burns has always been a solid putter. I think he was the best strokes gained putting last year on tour. But Eric Cole, Christian Bezadenhout, Bobby Mack, Sam Ryder, Shane Lowry. So, all right. So if you think, all right, who's guys who are on my radar right now as I'm kind of going through, Wyndham Clark, obviously, just because how he's played a late and the tough test at Memorial, did well there, finishing third, and he was ranked first in strokes gained tee to green and strokes gained approach. So since he missed the cut at Aronimink, he's gained an average of 16.8, so just shy of 17 strokes on the field in his last 2 starts. That's ridiculous. He's found a different groove. So maybe Wyndham Clark of old is found his groove, and he's making his way back. So listen, we saw it how he's played. Like we said, since missing the cut at Aronimink, yeah, when he's on, man, he's on. He could win anywhere. And it seems like he's in that zone right now. So with these wide fairways and enough room for him to use his driver, this should fit him very well as far as profile-wise of a golfer who could do well. So depending on what book, again, you're looking at, he's 24 or 25 to 1 as an outright winner. Eric Cole, another one we just said, he's due. It's going to be windy this week, and it's going to matter with the weather. But if you look, Cole has gained on approach around the green and with the putter in 6 straight starts. So his recent results for Eric Cole: tied for 14th, tied for 6th, tied for 6th, tied for 31st, tied for 2nd, tied for 8th. Maybe even take a flyer as him as a first-round leader. I don't know. But Eric Cole, I feel like he gets one in the next couple of weeks. Gets his first wins. Be nice for him. But now, if you watch him, he's typically a little erratic with his driver, but he has gained off the tee in 2 straight events. So it'd be interesting to see with the weather coming into play and how he manages this course. But right now, around 44, 45 to 1, it's an interesting play. It's like a dark horse here. Interesting Koepka with some of the stats we rattled off with Koepka. And his profile, he's sitting at 33 to 1. I feel like he's due to have a decent finish, maybe even just like a top 10. But I don't know. He does have 6 top 20 finishes in his last 8 events. But again, when you look at Koepka, his main issue has been his putter. Ball striking, tee to green, those are back. It's the putter that's bit him in the ass. Now here's the thing. U.S. Open next week, Shinnecock Hills. Koepka won there in 2018. So if you're looking to Koepka for him to ramp up, this would probably be the week. And then Nikolai Højgaard, that's another maybe long shot, dark horse, whatever you call it, 35 to 1. It does make sense here with that. He has been erratic, but he's been runner-up finishes at Houston Open, Truist Championship. And he's near the top of the field in driving distance, tee to green, and his approach. He did miss the cut here last year, but I still feel like his game and this course, they fit well together. And then I did say I do like Alex Fitzpatrick more here than his brother. He does have a win at the Hero Indian Open, another win, obviously with his brother at the Zurich Classic. And he was 4th at the Truist, tied for 6th at the Memorial, and tied for 9th at the Cadillac Championship at Trump Doral. So 6 top 10s his last 7 worldwide wide starts. Top 5 in the field from tee to green over the last 24 rounds. And it seems like he's hitting his stride too. So I do. I don't know if he's going to be an outright for me, but I feel like he could very, very well be a top 10 finish here. But Alex Fitzpatrick is definitely one that he could be my dark horse outright. Michael Thorbjornsen, he's around a 44, 45 to 1 as well. He's one of those long hitting younger guys. Again, he's another one looking for his first tour win. He's had some birdie fest rounds of late. Runner up at the John Deere, top 4 at the Rocket Classic, and top 10s at Sanderson Farms. And then you look at Michael Brennan. I feel like Brennan's kind of tailed off a little bit. He's 54 to 1. He is interesting. I mean, he was 6th at Colonial, but he does have distance. And he does have experience, in Canada with the PGA Tour Americas circuit. He won twice in 2025 and had top 3 finish on this course 2 years ago. So, now you want a real dark horse? Tony Finau is sitting around a 70-1. I mean, he's worth mentioning just because this is his last chance to earn a U.S. Open spot for Shinnecock next week. So, missed the final qualifying, but he's been driving the ball well of late. He ranked 3rd at the CJ Cup, Byron Nelson, and 2nd at Memorial in strokes gained off the tee. He does have a strong Canadian Open history. 2nd at St. George's and 5th at Glen Abbey. So maybe a little north of the border action for Finau. Maybe he can get into the U.S. Open next week. Now, Finau and Grazer, these are like, this is digging a little deep here. Grazerman, he's sitting around 84-1. He did qualify for the U.S. Open on Monday, but still, he's another one of those guys looking for his first tour win. He does have a runner-up, and he has 5 runner-up finishes in less than 2 years. CJ Cup, Byron Nelson, 2 starts ago, and he ranked 1st in ball striking, 1st in approach, and 2nd in greens in regulation for Max Grazerman. So, ranking the contenders, I just feel Burns. I like Sam Burns a lot. I like his game. He's really played well late. 4-hole playoff last year. I mean, he damn near won the thing. And he could have won last week. A couple bad breaks in the last few holes. I think he said it was 17. I think it was 17 where he's hitting off the fucking plank of wood, got no relief. It was absolutely absurd. But he's got the putter. He has a scoring ability. Ranks well in par 4 scoring. And his tee to green game really improved. It just feels like this is one where he finally gets it done. Kind of avenges that 4-hole playoff loss from last year, and then again last week couldn't get it done, but was right there, right in the end. And then there's always Tommy Fleetwood. This course fits him as well. Other one couldn't get it done last week. He's always been a reliable tee to green. Great in these difficult approach shots and these crazy approach windows. I mean, Tommy Fleetwood's pretty much like weatherproof, right? It seems like he's another one to avenge a loss with that heartbreaking loss in 2023 to Nick Taylor. So maybe get a good effort here from Fleetwood again. I'd love to see it. Great player, and I feel like he should have won a lot more. Just another one couldn't close it. Then we talked about Matt Fitzpatrick. He may be, if you look at all the guys in the field, the best overall. He does have 3 wins this year. But my biggest concern with Matt Fitzpatrick, so his around the green play, that's his biggest strength, right? When you look at his game, but it may not really matter here if the greens and regulation rate stays high, because his best strength is around the green play. So he might not really matter for him here. But again, you can't argue he's got 3 wins. And then, like I said, Morikawa. I mentioned his name because again, he's another one of these guys where his profile fits the course. But with the injury and it's on baby watch, is he going to even play through the thing? I don't know. I had to mention him because of his game. If anyone's interested in taking him, again, there's just too many variables here with him. With especially his wife could go into labor and then he's out. So, Justin Rose, 45-year-old Justin Rose, still getting it done. These types of setups really fit Justin Rose now. Can he still continue to play well with these new McLaren irons? How's putting under pressure, the weather, and it's going to come into play. But it just seems like Justin Rose. I don't know. The guy seems like he's playing better as he gets older. And we talked about Aaron Rye and the disrespect. I just like Aaron Rye as well here. But you have to go like almost 20 names. Depending on what book you're using, you're going to have to go like 15, 20 names down to find him. But just his recent play of late, and and then obviously Wyndham Clark. But again, this is more of a balanced week. Like the past few weeks, we said it's your total bag. It's not just a grip and rip off the tee. It's going to be your total distance and accuracy off the tee, but it's really your approach and your putting. And we keep saying it, the weather, but I'm telling you, the weather here with these winds and the way the course is set up, you're going to see how, if we get these whipping winds on Sunday, you're going to see how it's really going to affect some of these guys. So you don't just want to bomb it and spray it. But you also don't want guys who are just accurate. See, it's got to be a mix. You got to have this mixed bag, and your approach, like I said, again, it's going to be like you saw Aronimink, Colonial, Memorial, these methodical, tactical approaches, and how guys adjust to the elements and how the course is playing. And anytime you get weather involved, we said it. Is it early tee time? Is it late tee time? You have the bookend par fives on 1 and 18. So you have guys playing back-to-back par fives, and depending on their tee time, some guys might have a scoring advantage over others based on the course conditions. So there's a lot of different variables here. But again, you're going to get softer conditions. How are they going to handle the crosswinds? Bogey avoidance is huge. And they have enough putts to survive like an 18 under type score, or is their putter just going to abandon them this weekend? If you're not putting, you're not making the cut. You gotta have a putter this week for sure. And again, we said it. This is the last tune-up, last stop before the U.S. Open next week at Shinnecock Hills. So some of these guys are trying to play their way in. Some of these guys are trying to get FedEx points here. We said it. Some guys are trying to qualify for the Travelers, and some of these with 21 Canadian guys in the field. So some of these guys are trying to be a national hero, like Nick Taylor. So us degenerate bettors, we get one more shot before the brutal U.S. Open test at Shinnecock Hills, and that is a course where that's like right up there with like Oakmont and these other courses. That Shinnecock Hills is going to be a test. So, it's gonna be a good one this week. Especially, I feel like we could get another playoff finish on Sunday if we get this weather 3 out of the 4 days that they're predicting it. So that's a long-winded RBC Canadian Open breakdown. But again, it's not just one of those weeks where it's like a throwaway week, because you got the U.S. Open next week, and we said Canadian Open, U.S. Open, and the Open. This is the triple crown in golf, so to speak. So there's a lot on the line here for some of these guys. So that's the Off the Hook tee to green. All that stuff will obviously be on the replay on our YouTube channel in case you missed anything or couldn't write fast enough or when I was just rambling off here. I feel like it might be one of the longer golf segments since Evan was on. And we will hopefully have Evan back here next week to break down the U.S. Open. We're still trying to figure that out. So I will be traveling out west, but we're still going to do the shows next week. Might be quicker ones, except for that U.S. Open one, because the U.S. Open one will be a big one for that TD Green show. So more on that to come, and we'll make those announcements on our X page at OTH Sports Pod. But we'll move from the golf course to the ice rink. And man, this Stanley Cup Finals. Listen, your head's on a fucking swivel. This is, like I said, I don't know shit about fuck when it comes to hockey, although I love watching it. I love betting it, and I absolutely love playoff hockey. But this NHL Stanley Cup Final is this thing. I said the other day, I want to go through my notes and try to tally up all the crazy stats or records that were broken that we've seen in 4 games now. It's just these, it was funny yesterday hearing some people, other networks or podcasts, and like, oh yeah, it's going to be under. I'm like, there's no fucking way you're going to get me to take the under the amount of goals that are scored. And it's not necessarily that these goalies are bad. It's just these teams. I mean, the first goal was in the first minute and a half last night, and then I took my eye off the game for a few minutes, and then Vegas tied it up, and then it's just so fast paced. I mean, these guys are moving, and some of the goals from Game 3, two I believe of the goals went off Hurricanes. One went off the goalie, and one went off the defenseman, I believe. So kind of just like a bad bounce. Crazy, wild shit has happened. You get the Marner hat trick in Game 3, and then just this Game 4. Unfortunately, Vegas couldn't get it done. I still think Vegas wins the cup. This series is wild, but it's just this fast-paced scoring. But we're all square now at 2, with Carolina getting the 5-3 win over Vegas last night. And going back, Game 5 is tomorrow, and it's just, I don't know. You try to make sense of this series, and I can't, just because these teams are so evenly matched. And it's like, I hope, I thought Vegas in 6, but now I just kind of hope we get 7. These teams are just leaving it all out there. We just, to be honest, if you would have asked me prior to this series starting, if they would have had this type of offense so far, I would have been like, no way. This is more defensive. I would have been more leaning toward the under. But after that first game and watching how these teams are skating around the ice and flying around, you can't not bet the over. I mean, even, was it Game 2? It was Game 2. And when it was 0-0 after the first period, and I had the over. I'm like, this thing's fucking cooked. And no, was not cooked. It was just a scoring frenzy after that. So even when you think, you get a kind of so-so period, maybe 1 or 2 goals scored, it just, the next period is just a complete scoring frenzy. So, I mean, just, we've had blown leads, a bunch of overtimes, double overtime, some of these crazy scoring runs, the Marner hat trick, the Vegas had 2 goals wiped off the board the other night. It's just wild. So, and this is another interesting stat. A two goal lead has now disappeared in all 4 games of this series. It's absolutely ridiculous. And you have more ridiculousness in Game 4. Carolina jumped out fast. Stankoven, it was a minute 6 in, and it was 1-0. And then Blake scored. So 3.5 minutes in, 2-0 lead by Carolina. And then Stone with the breakaway, 7:22, and it was 2-1. And then Jordan Stahl, how the fuck he's still playing? Power play goal, make it 3-1. And then you're thinking, all right, Carolina's going to run away with it. But you knew that there was more left in the tank as far as scoring, because it seems like nobody has control of this. It's just complete chaos, and it's every game something crazy happens. Golden Knights nearly cut it to 1 at the end of the first. Brady McNabb's goal. See, and this is what, again, I told you I don't know shit about fuck with hockey, but the puck. So the horn came and sounded before the puck crossed the goal, so it didn't count. Now, to me, again, I told you I don't know shit about fuck about it. I don't, whatever. I like betting it, so I'll be honest. I'm not a fucking hockey handicapper. But to me, if the shot got off before the fucking horn sounded, I don't give a fuck if the puck was across the line or not. Like, he got the shot off. Kind of like a basketball, right? You get the shot off before the shot clock, or before the game ends, right? Goes in, counts. Fucking count that shit. You got the shot off. Who cares if it didn't cross the fucking goal? But whatever. So it didn't count. And then the second period happened, and the Vegas has pretty much owned the second period in this Stanley Cup final. Carlson scored a 4:22 with the second, and it was 3-2. And here we have fucking Brett Howden. What has he got? 14, 15 goals. He tied it at 17:08. 14 goals. There we go. 14 goals for Howden. Vegas has now outscored Carolina 9-1 in second periods in this Stanley Cup final. That is just wild. So Hurricanes had that 3-1 lead, lost it, and now we're tied again going into the third. And then there's fucking Stahl delivers again. The guy was like fucking laying on the ice and flipped it. It is fucking nuts. And then 6:32 of the third, Carolina gets the go-ahead goal off just that wild sequence of events there. And then you know pulled the goalie, so they got an empty netter. Jarvis, got a turnover and put the puck back behind the goal line. Turns it over. Vegas has a chance, but McNabb gives it right back, and fucking Stahl scores while fucking falling down on his stomach. So almost 40 was he Stahl. 37-year-old captain scores the game winner while laying on the ice. And that's been the Stanley Cup Finals this season. And even Brindamore said it. He said it's been crazy, unpredictable. You couldn't have said it better. And I think Stahl said something to the effect of it's a wild ride, or it's been a wild ride, or something to that effect. But so 37-year-old Jordan Stahl now has 5 goals in this series, has scored in all 4 games. First player to score in each of the first 4 games of Stanley Cup Final. So Mike Bossy did it for the Islanders in 1982. He's only the 4th player to do it in the NHL expansion era. Even Torts, John Tortorella said Stahl is killing them in front of the net. He's not wrong. And he's not flashy. It's not this like flashy highlight reel that Stahl's putting together. It's just his work in front of the net, rebounds, timing. I mean, he's physical, experience, right? And kind of just seems some of these goals on both ends. It's right place, right time. The way some of these goals have gone in. Stahl's even said it. He's been telling guys for years, get to the hoop and good things happen. And it's not wrong. So he's right there and he's making the most of it. He's making it count. And Carolina wins game 4. So they got down and dirty and mucked it up a little and survived the late Vegas push and found a way to get it done. And now we got a best of 3. I really hope this goes 7. But now we're going back to Raleigh for game 5 tomorrow. The big storyline here is Bussy. Brandon Bussy got his first career NHL postseason start and made 18 saves. I don't know. But they say Anderson was a healthy scratch. Say he just needed rest. There's something else going on there. You give him a break. I don't know. But what do you do here? Bussy is just the 3rd goalie in expansion era to make his first career playoff start in the Stanley Cup Final. I don't know. Do you ride the hot hand with this kid, or do you go back to Anderson, or is there something more going on there? Bussy also became just the 3rd goalie in NHL history to make his first career playoff in the Stanley Cup and win. So, like we said, Brindamore and his staff have a decision here. What do? Go back to Anderson, ride the hot hand, Bussy. To me, that's the real storyline heading into game 5. I don't really think either of these teams matters who the fuck's in goal. These guys are going to score regardless. But the Golden Knights just flush this one down the shitter and, try again tomorrow. One thing to note, again, these are more fucking stats. Carter Hart is the first goalie in NHL history to allow 4 or more goals in his first 4 games of the Stanley Cup Finals. And Hurricanes and Golden Knights have combined for 33 goals in the first 4 games. That's the most in Stanley Cup Finals since 1981. It's just unbelievable. I got to go back through my notes and try to break all this down once the Stanley Cup Final is over. It's some of these stats and records that we're going to see from this is crazy. But we said game 5 tomorrow night, Raleigh. Right now, Carolina is sitting at around, well, it opened at minus 145, now at minus 155. So Vegas is money line about plus 130, give or take. And the puck line is minus 1.5. So now, if you look at the betting splits here on the puck line, Vegas plus 1.5, they're getting about 70% of the handle with 50% of the bets. I believe that was at DraftKings. And then you got Carolina, their puck line, laying one in the hook. They're getting 30% of the handle on 50% of the bets. So that puck line money, that's leaning toward Vegas, keeping it close. And I think Vegas gets it done. I could see this thing kind of going Vegas winning in Raleigh, maybe coming back, stealing game 6 in Vegas, and then you get game 7 in Carolina, and then you get a fucking free-for-all. Maybe fucking even take like an alternate over at like fucking 10. I don't know. They're just going to fucking leave it all out. But that total is 6.5. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, how do you take the fucking under? So 100% of the handle and 100% of the bets are completely one-sided on DraftKings right now, leaning toward the over 6.5. How you not? Fuck. Yeah. So that's kind of where we're sitting at now with the betting market, and yeah, definitely over is a play, and we'll certainly have a play tomorrow. Probably be the Pikkit play of the day at the hockey game tomorrow. Since the NBA Finals started in NHL, I placed a couple baseball bets here and there. Yamamoto, I think it was like one of the Pikkit plays of the day was like over 7 or 7.5 strikeouts, and I think I played another one. I do have another one tonight. I actually threw the Dodgers run line tonight in Pittsburgh against the horrendous Pittsburgh Pirates. Shohei's pitching, and they'll probably fucking lose. Another win in 6-1, bottom of the 7th. So that might be the second or third baseball bet to cash since the NBA and NHL final. I mean, I have no time to even watch baseball. I don't even want to watch baseball. But so more chaos for sure in Game 5 tomorrow. So we'll see what happens in Raleigh, and it's a best of 3 now in the NHL Stanley Cup. I'm trying to see if there's any other interesting notes that I might have missed on the fucking NHL Stanley. If not, you know what? We'll get it tomorrow, or we'll get it fucking Friday. Friday we'll be back for sure. A full show Friday. We'll get you caught up on the NBA Finals and where that sits, the NHL Chaos Stanley Cup Finals. We'll get you live leaderboard updates from the Canadian RBC Open up there in Toronto, TPC, Toronto, Osprey Valley, North Course. Oh, Jesus Christ. What else? We'll have Bark Bets. Obviously, we partner with Freedom First Rescue, so we'll have that on Friday's show. Obviously, Clown of the Week. Get you that. We'll get you the Pikkit play of the day. It'll be hockey or basketball, whatever the fuck's going on Friday. I might be back for a short one tomorrow. Why not? Fuck it. But I'm gonna go watch this fucking basketball game. Let's see what we got here. Any takers on what we got? 5-2 San Antonio. Fuck it. They're only like a minute 10 into this game. But that's it. Off the hook, Tee to Green. RBC Open. RBC Canadian Open. Whatever. Fuck. Starts tomorrow. Picks at OTH Sports Pod on Twitter, X, whatever you guys are calling it these days. And everything is posted there. So make sure you hit the like, subscribe, comment, ring the bell, get notified, because we're on here like 4 or 5 days a week doing this. And hey, listen, if you're using Pikkit, make sure you follow us. If you're not using Pikkit, come on, let's go. Download that Pikkit app, put in code OTH, and follow along with us and track all your bets, track your friends, line movements, all that good stuff, and track all your plays throughout the weekend. Hey, let us know what you're betting. Send us a message. I don't know, send us your favorite bet. Let us know at OTH Sports Pod here on YouTube and X. And thank you to everyone who's continued to support us. Lots of good stuff coming up. We got some merch coming your way. Lots of good stuff for Freedom First Rescue with Bark Bets. And, of course, four-legged members of this crew, Mookie and Nash. Listen, been riding with us for a while. You know, these guys always get the final shout-out. They're patiently waiting, but probably want another walk before we get into this NBA Finals game. So, for myself, Mookie, Nash, everyone here at Off the Hook Sports, we will get the final card posted at OTH Sports Pod. Pikkit play of the day. Knicks lane 2.5. Shamet over 6.5 points. And under 217.5 was the Pikkit play of the day. What am I also missing? I don't know. My boys want to go for a walk. I want to watch this fucking game. Hey, listen. Good luck on everything tonight. Golf bets at OTH Sports Pod in the morning. And we'll get hopefully cash some golf winners this week. But good luck on your bets tonight. Enjoy all the action. If you got any pups, give your dogs an extra hug, an extra treat tonight from Mookie and Nash. And hey, listen, we'll see you guys at the window, and we'll see you probably tomorrow and Friday, and after that, sometime next week, especially with Evan for U.S. Open golf. So good luck, and I'll see you guys at the window.